Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Very good day to all of you. Tetamu saya pada hari ini ialah seorang, tak tahulah nak cakap apa, seorang intellectual, academia, fighter for women's rights and kawan baik saya. Nama beliau, biarlah saya perkenalkan, beliau ialah Profesor Emeritus Tan Sri Datuk Sri Dr. Sharifah Habsah Said Hassan Shahabuddin. Apa khabar, Prof?
Abah baik. How are you?
I'm
Stay
okay.
home, stay safe.
Yeah, I know. Okay. I receive Professor punya biodata. It's so impressive and it's so long. Tapi saya akan pick up aja some of the salient ones. Okay? Alright. Saya mulakan dengan pengalaman kerjaya, Prof. Okay. Profesor ni kan, dia sangat terkenal tau, terutama sekali di kalangan akademia dan juga di kalangan pejuang-pejuang wanita khususnya, dan juga Suhakam. Okay, you graduated 1973, right? Alright, yes, lepas tu menjadi pensyarah di Jabatan Fisiologi Fakulti Perubatan UKM. You started off after leaving HKL, you pergi ke UKM kan? And then bila saya lihat pengalaman kerjaya tu, saya nak pick up yang the important ones, you know. Umpamanya pada tahun 77 hingga 79, Ketua Jabatan Fisiologi Fakulti Perubatan UKM. Lepas tu Ketua Unit Pendidikan Perubatan Fakulti Perubatan tahun 82 hingga 84. Ketua Jabatan Pendidikan Perubatan Fakulti Perubatan tahun 93 hingga 96. Lepas tu Pengarah Hubungan Antarabangsa dan Pusat Perkembangan Akademik pada tahun 96 hingga 2001. Timbalan Pengarah Division Quality Assurance IPTA, Jabatan Pendidikan Tinggi Kementerian Pelajaran 2002 hingga 2005. Dan lepas tu jadi CEO pula Lembaga Akreditasi Negara, kini dikenal sebagai Malaysian Qualification Agency dari Januari 2006 hingga Ogos. Lepas tu dia naik lagi. Lepas itulah dia naik jadi Naib Chancellor UKM pada Ogos 2006 hinggalah ke Disember 2013. Selain pada tu, Profesor ni juga menjadi pakar perunding kanan Jabatan Perdana Menteri, penasihat program permata negara. Kemudian dia juga ahli Suruhanjaya Suhakam, ahli Suruhanjaya Integrity Agency Penguatkuasa dan sebagainya. Tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, hari ini seperti termaklum, program Sembang-Sembang PSWM menyusuri ilmu ini mengenengahkan ahli-ahli Persatuan Siswazah yang telah kata orang achievementnya sangat-sangat hebat. Okay? Dan hari ini saya bawakan seorang bekas Vice Chancellor. Mana ada orang dapat peluang untuk buat program macam ini, masuk dekat YouTube, interview bekas Vice Chancellor. Wow, ini sesuatu yang sangat sangat awesome. So saya nak tanya, Prof, ramai orang kenal you kan sebagai President, especially sebagai President National Council of Women's Organisation. And then kenal lagi you bila you jadi Vice Chancellor UKM. Hari ini saya nak fokus sebagai Vice Chancellor UKM. Okey. Boleh tak Prof jelaskan pada saya tugas-tugas seorang Vice Chancellor?
Okay. Sebenarnya as Vice Chancellor, kita kena carry out the mission of the university. Universiti ni ada universal mission. Universiti mana pun, di mana di dunia ni, dia mesti ada 3 mission dia. Iaitu research, penyelidikan, pendidikan dan servis. 3 rangkai ni adalah sifat universiti. Kalau tak ada ini, dia bukan universiti. Kalau dia research saja, dia research institute.
Ya.
Ya. So 3 ni mesti ada pada universiti. Ini adalah universal mission. Tapi setiap universiti itu dicorak. Dia mesti ada 3 ni, tapi dicorak oleh mandate yang diberi oleh negaranya. Contohnya UKM. mandate kita adalah memperjuangkan dan mempromosikan bahasa Melayu. Ya, bahasa kebangsaan sebagai bahasa ilmu. Ini tambahan kepada mission kita, ya. Dan ada juga universiti mempromosikan ilmu-ilmu teknikal contohnya, ya. So dia dicorakkan dengan mandate yang diberi. Di US pun ada land grant university for example, ya. So tapi 3 mission ni mesti ada. Dan fungsi Vice Chancellor adalah untuk memastikan 3 misi ini dipelihara dan dipromosikan, ya. Iaitu research, pendidikan atau education dan service. 3 ini. Dan setiap universiti kita tetapkan apa dia kita punya mission, kita punya vision itu ke mana, dan buat strategi dan cari resources, contohnya money dan sebagainya, dan orang-orangnya untuk menentukan kita mencapai vision dan mission kita, ya. So fungsi universiti adalah Vice Chancellor adalah untuk mengemblengkan tenaga yang ada dalam universiti. Kita tenaga banyak, ya, otak ni gembleng otak, you know, can you imagine profesor, macam-macam profesor kan. To get them to work together, set the vision, where will we be in so many years, ya, and what is our mission, ya, dan tentukan strategi kita. Selepas kita letak matlamat, apa dia strategi yang kita akan guna dan apa tindakan yang kita akan ambil, ya. Itu fungsi Vice Chancellor untuk menetapkan itu dulu. Dan kemudian fungsi Vice Chancellor adalah untuk memastikan resources untuk menjalankan atau mencapai visi dan misi kita tu melalui strategi yang ditetapkan boleh tercapai. Dia perlu menyediakan resources yang ada, ya. So, selain pada human resources, kita perlu ada financial resources, dan penting IT contohnya, ya, untuk communication perlu ada, dan pelbagai lagi infrastruktur dalam universiti, laboratory lah, classroom lah, ya. So infrastruktur mesti ada, dan sokongan pentadbiran dan governance yang telus, governance yang very clear line of responsibility, decision making. Itu fungsi antara fungsi Vice Chancellor. Dan make sure people can work together. Ya, fungsi Vice Chancellor is to make sure people can work together to achieve the aims.
So maknanya masa Prof jadi VC tu, you work as a team. Mesti ada satu pasukan.
Mesti. Tak ada, tak boleh. Dia Vice Chancellor seorang tak boleh.
So kan dekat UKM masa tu, ketika you jadi Prof jadi VC tu, Vice Chancellor tu, berapa orang pembantu? Dia panggil penolong Vice Chancellor ke atau naib atau apa?
Timbalan.
Kita
ada timbalan. Okey, struktur universiti masa saya masuk tu, Vice Chancellor, kita ada lembaga, ya. Kita ada board, chairman of the board, dan 6 ke 8 orang, ya. Representation from various sectors duduk dalam board. Board membantu dari segi dasar penting, ya. Kemudian kita ada senate. Senate urusannya adalah academic matters. Semua keputusan tentang akademik mesti ke senate. Ya, dan so kita ada board tentang policy, dan board ni policy tentang kenaikan pangkat, you know, that's all, but not academic. Academic matter semua ke Senate. Kemudian kita ada itu yang macam jawatan kuasa penting lah. Kemudian kita ada timbalan naib chancellor yang khusus dia punya fungsi dia pendidikan, research, dan semasa saya jadi vice chancellor saya minta lagi satu, dan untuk perkhidmatan atau community service, ya. So saya tambah lagi satu. And then above that kita ada chancellor university, tapi chancellor ni dia tak ada administrative function, dia tak ada, dia more of titular function, ya.
Dan apa beza antara chancellor dengan pro chancellor?
Pro chancellor membantu chancellor. Selalunya dalam convocation dan sebagainya. Pro Chancellor lah yang membantu ya, because Chancellor dia tak datang tiap-tiap hari, dia tak hadir for all the convo punya sessions. So Pro Chancellor take the place of the Chancellor. Yang dalam, if you notice yang ada fungsi akademik saja yang boleh bagi scroll ya. So Chancellor, Pro Chancellor, Vice Chancellor. Chairman of the board never give. Chairman of the board has nothing to do with academic. So dia tak ada ni fungsi untuk memberi scroll, tak boleh ya. That is in the perlembagaan itself. So bila kita nak uruskan universiti, we have to be bound by the perlembagaan universiti. Perlembagaan universiti is derived from the Akta University. Akta IPTA tu. University and University Colleges Act. So from there kita buat kita punya perlembagaan, then from our perlembagaan lah kita buat kita punya bylaws, kita punya procedures dan sebagainya is derived from that. Kita mesti be clear about the governance, no? Kadang orang lupa tau. So then kucak-kacir university. So you always have to go back and be guided by the perlembagaan of the university.
Nampak macam pasal sebelum jadi Vice Chancellor, Profesor sudah memang part of the academia di UKM.
Yes.
Right? Jadi lebih kurang dah tahu dah perjalanannya dan sebagainya. Tapi apabila saya mendengar begitu luasnya skop tugas dan tanggungjawab seorang Vice Chancellor, masa you mula-mula ditawarkan untuk menjadi Vice Chancellor tu, apakah perasaan you? Bukan semua orang dapat tau. Bukan semua orang.
Saya masa tu CEO of Lembaga Akreditasi Negara. Saya dibawa ke Kementerian Pelajaran atau Pendidikan. Kemudian jadi pendidikan tinggi ya. I was part of the formation of the Kementerian Pendidikan Tinggi. Dulu tak ada Kementerian Pelajaran saja kan. So saya ditugaskan untuk membangunkan sistem kualiti negara. So in that capacity, saya juga dilantik sebagai CEO of Lembaga Akreditasi Negara. So saya tengah buat Malaysian Qualification Agency Bill. Belum ke Parlimen. So satu hari saya dipanggil oleh KSU. Saya tengah meeting ni tentang bill ni. Dia panggil suruh naik. Saya pun naik lah. Dia kata, Sharifah, ini PM has given the order. You are to go as Vice Chancellor of UKM, and I want to, we have to announce today juga. Saya minta, saya kata boleh tak bagi saya jawatan ni end of the year. Saya nak habiskan saya punya bill ni. I need just a little bit more time. Saya nak bawa ke Parlimen. Tak boleh. Dia kata because dia kata kita tak nak repeat fiasko yang UM dulu, dia kata. Ingat tak?
Ingat.
Kita tak payah kita bersembang sini kan.
Betul-lah.
Pasal bila jadi macam itu, they were not happy kan. Orang start lobbying sana sini, and then at the end of the day, benda yang nak dijadikan tak jadi kan. So immediately everything went out to announce. Tapi saya akan pegang jawatan pada ujung bulan. Tapi that day itself, hari yang saya dipanggil, sudah buat announcement. So I had only a few, I think 2 weeks or 2 or 3 weeks like that, to tidy up everything yang saya tengah buat Malaysian Qualifications Agency.
Daripada penjelasan Profesor ni kan, you were very confident that, it's okay, I will accept.
Yes.
Because, dengar ni, tak semua orang dapat offer jadi Vice Chancellor. Tiba-tiba you dapat. Mau tak? Terkejut tak?
Nak kata terkejut tu taklah sangat kan, because as you know the history kan. But terkejut tu because like macam immediately, because saya belum habis. I feel like I have not finished my work with the qualifications agency.
Do you think that this holding the position of Vice Chancellor in your career is the apex of your career?
Academic career, yes lah. Academic career. Because in academic career, there are 2 tracks in academia. One is the administrative track, which is at the end of the day you become Vice Chancellor. The other one, of course, is in your professional field. You reach the top of your field. everybody know you. I rasa I achieve that earlier than jadi Vice Chancellor. So to me, I'm not unhappy that I now become Vice Chancellor because I feel like I have reached the highest point in my career as a medical educationist. Yeah, I am known already in the world. Yeah, I'm a consultant to WHO, consultant to UNESCO, to consultant to medical schools everywhere else. You know, so I feel like and international organizations recognize me, put me on the board. Journals put me in the board, editorial board. So I feel like in my career as an academician, I reached the top. Okay. And even in quality assurance, I reached the top. Recognized. Okay. Yes. Okay. So these are two tracks, you know. So I reached one. I'm not unhappy that they make me VC tapi I belum terkenal lagi, you know. I didn't have that feeling.
Okay, tetapi daripada penjelasan Prof tadi, you have to deal a lot also with, perkhidmatan. In other words, administrative aspect of this. Because as an academician, there is no doubt you have reached the top. But when you go there, you need to know about other things as well. Finance, service matters, perkhidmatan, scheme of service or for your lecturers and blah blah blah. So, how do you cope? You know why I'm saying this? Because you did not apply for the job. You were given the job.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, true. It's correct. But you must understand, you are not the only person in the university. Okay. Universiti kan ada pendaftar, ada bendahari, So you need to work with them because they are the people who are knowledgeable dalam hal-hal ini. Tapi they also need guidance. They need the vision and the way forward from you. Yeah. They need that, they need that leadership. So because they can go on doing whatever they want to do, but sometimes you nak benda yang baru. And then you have to relook at the procedures. They come and tell you, kita buat macam ni. For example, when I first went in as VC kan, I kata kenapa orang complain kat saya, people apply, but it takes a long time for them to be acknowledged by UKM to call for interview. Universiti lain dah ambil dia orang. Then I look, what is wrong with UKM? Kita tak ada pun fixed meetings untuk recruitment contohnya, ya. So if I just leave it to them, they will continue to do it that way. But if you can sense that, if I don't do this fast, good people we will not get.
Yes.
Orang lain akan ambil kan? Yes. So then we say no, we will change the procedure. So we change the procedure. So the leadership has to come from you. But they know how to change the procedure. Once you've done it, the from A to Z tu dia tahu macam mana stepnya. So, but this sort of things have to come. Sama dengan bendahari pun. So in the end, after a while kan, senang aja. I will tell my bendahari, ini kita punya program, kita nak buat ini, kita nak achieve ini. This is the thing that I require. You tolong pergi cari how I can get the money for this. Because bendahari yang tahu cara-caranya. I don't have to know the details. But they know the procedure. Dia akan ikut financial act or whatever. Dia tak akan pecah benda-benda tu semua. Tapi now you give him the mandate to see how he can move around to do this.
You know why I asked that question?
Yeah.
Because today dalam kita punya, hopefully lah the viewers yang menengok program ini, saya rasa tak pernah lagi ada orang interview Vice Chancellor. Biasanya Vice Chancellor ni kan is offered to someone. So tak pernah pula saya dengar sejarah ada pula orang kata, no, I don't want to become a Vice Chancellor. So almost everybody accept it. However, to the young ones who are following this program, insyaAllah ya, for you to chart your career, kita tak boleh apply tau nak jadi Vice Chancellor. Tak boleh. We are offered. Betul tak, Prof? Betul, right. Okay, did you...
No, in our country, yes.
Yeah, in our country, that's what I mean. Okay, a very naughty question. Did you ever, cross your mind when you were young that one day you will be the number one of a university?
In my young days?
Yalah, in your
in my later days, you know why? Because you're building your career.
yes.
To become vice chancellor tu macam it was seen as if you do that, your career if it's not built yet, it's not something that you want to do, you know. So you just see other people lah jadi vice chancellor, you bantu lah, you help as much as you can, you know, things like that. But after a while, once you have done your professionally, you feel competent already, then you feel okay to take charge of an institution. To make it a better institution is a great challenge. Why not? And you feel I can do it. Why not? I have started quality. I've started many things in my faculty. Bukan kita tak pernah mulakan program dan projek yang berjaya.
Yes.
Sudah ada track record, you know. So I'm not worried.
Alright. Now, my next question ya. Setelah menjalani tugas sebagai Vice Chancellor, apa agaknya you punya cabaran yang paling sesuatu yang paling mencabar lah yang you hadapi semasa you jadi VC di UKM?
Yeah, for me kan, put aside all the political things because our country ni unique sikit because Vice Chancellor appointed by ministers kan, it's not by a board or whatever. So just looking internally dalam university, my biggest challenge actually is managing people. Because kita macam-macam orang, you know, there's diversity in the university, different disciplines, different interests. Everybody want to promote their own discipline, you know.
Yes.
So you need to. The biggest challenge is if you have set the vision and the mission for the university, how do you get all these people to work together?
Yes.
And you have to do it in a simple way that they can understand. Cara saya, bila saya guna, I like to use a lot of icons, images. So bagi saya, the first thing I did was get them together, and at the end of it, once we've got all our ideas, I put it together as the flying bird, the tern. This burung ni, dia terbang dari Arctic ke Antarctic, you know.
Yeah.
It's such a great bird, you know. So I use this as the icon, and we used it throughout my career as Vice Chancellor. So kita guna the wings as all the programs that we want to do, right and left. Yeah, the left, all the international kind of projects, and the right will be all our basic that are more attuned to our country. Yeah, national. Tail is like untuk rudder, ya, untuk kemudi the bird, and that is where we have all our system for monitoring, planning, yeah, communicating. That's what I always say, you know. And forward, as you go with the head, is our mission is the Bahasa Melayu tu. Bahasa Melayu and the kebangsaan, because that's our university.
Yes.
So, bila I guna image macam ni dan I explain, people can understand immediately. The tern, the burung, you know, burung terbang, and terbang has to go high, you know. So we have the bird flying high, and we divide the heights into phases. Ini fasa 1, fasa 2, fasa 3. What do we do? In terms of education, in terms of research, in terms of service, what are the things we must do? Yeah, so and then the other icon image I guna is a tree, for example, you know. The tree and the roots represent all the people in the university, and then it goes up in the trunk, and then the trunk breaks up into branches with fruits. So the fruits is our labor. Fruits will be the outcome of our labor that we put in, all the roots together. Then you get a research fruit, a pendidikan fruit in the forms of program, undergrad program, postgrad program, and then you have services. And out of research, you can have, for example, commercialized products. You know, these are the fruits.
Yeah.
But the roots are important. So I always tell them, we have to organize the roots ni. How do we organize the roots so that we get the proper fruits? Yeah, that goes through the trunk. So that's how we came to the idea of organizing the people, big challenge ini, into what we call niche areas. di UKM. Because we cannot move kalau everybody nak buat dia punya sendiri kan.
Yeah.
So we have to group people into proper niche. So we identified things like, okay, renewable energy, one area. Yeah. Medical and health sciences, one area. So this niche, within the niche, they group their people, and these people are multidisciplinary. So I had about 7 niche areas. Semua orang dalam UKM will be in one of these areas.
Okay. Okay.
So at least they have a home, they have a team to work together, and they have their research areas. Within the niche tu, dia ada dia punya research.
Okay. So you have a very powerful team actually.
Oh, very good. Excellent team. Kalau tak ada team tu, manalah saya.
Yeah. But let's not talk about anything negative, okay? So I just want to ask you, as a vice chancellor, you are number 1 there. So you have how many thousand students do you have at that point of time?
Masa tu 25,000.
Alright, 25,000 in the same campus?
Atau ada medical and health campus.
Okay.
In KL.
Alright. Now, how accessible are you to the students?
IT.
Huh?
IT, they all can reach me.
Okay, but
they can also reach me on my handphone. No problem.
So you are accessible to that.
Yes, to anybody.
Okay, that's good because one would think that a vice chancellor is like in an ivory tower. Student biasa-biasa ni takut sangat, lah kita kan macam oh my god, is a vice chancellor, sedangkan dekan dia pun kadang-kadang dia takut kan. Ini student dulu lah, bukan student sekarang. Okay, your time lah. Okay, now they are very bold. They will just
IT really helped me a lot.
Okay.
I invested a lot in the IT system dekat UKM. And also we have governing, we have committees where students are represented. Students masuk dalam komiti, and we also have monthly meetings with students.
Okay. Memang macam masa saya di Universiti Melayu dulu, kita ada AMSU kan, student union kan. UKM ada?
Kita tak union, tapi kita adalah dia punya student representative. Ada. Tapi bukan union, they are not union.
Okay. Maknanya the students ada voting dan sebagainya.
Ada, yes. They have their own committee and all that, and that's the one I have monthly meetings with them.
Okay. So you are accessible because people will say, number 1, people will say university is an ivory tower. Yang kedua, vice chancellor is right at the top, macam king lah konon. Susah sangat orang nak pergi jumpa.
Ada, saya jalan on the ground.
Yeah. Okay.
No. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to ask you as a summary lah ya. Boleh tak Prof ceritakan ataupun sum up, ini bukan putting yourself, like, oh, I've done this, I've done that. We just want to know, apakah dia kejayaan ataupun yang you consider your achievement when you were the VC of UKM that you are proud of, that you have done something.
Maybe other people should say it lah. Tapi I because I was also a woman leader. I have to be aware of the 30%. Remember, when I was VC pun kita buat ini kan, 30% tu at least. So I that's one of the things that I wanted to make sure I achieve as a vice chancellor. Nanti orang kata, dia VC dia tak buat pun, So I managed to get as deputy vice chancellor 50%. Wow. 2 men, okay?
Wish.
Dekan more than 30%. I think close to 45 or something, dekan, and pengarah.
Yeah.
And then pro chancellor, I didn't have a single woman. So I went and persuaded Tunku Intan.
Oh, Tunku
Intan. And then I persuaded my menteri, and of course the chancellor appointed her as our pro chancellor. So UKM saja yang ada extra pro chancellor tu, 3 orang. 3, 4. Pro chancellor. One of them is a woman. So I made sure that part is covered lah. So I have the history of making sure the gender representation is there in the university. After I left, I tak tahu lah what happened kan. But when I'm there, I make sure it happens. And I put in policies to make sure this happens. For example, Masa I masuk tak ada, tak ramai kan. So how to do this? Because I know women you offer they don't want, right?
Yeah.
So I said, and I introduced this idea of nominations come from the ground, and then there'll be a select committee. They will select. They will look at the CV and all that. So I put in the rule: when you nominate from the faculties or from your centers, at least one name must be a woman's name.
Oh,
this will force them to go and look for the woman, right? Because there will be women, but actually they're not visible, they're not noticed, or they don't think about this. But when you force them, they have to think, they have to give the name, yeah?
Yes.
And I find that women, mula-mula lah, after that they got used to my style, then they dare not say no. Mula-mula, when we offered them, they all want to refuse, you know. So I have to call them up and talk to them. I said, why? Why are you refusing? Oh, tak boleh buat lah, not capable lah, macam-macam, you know, women lah. Then I always tell them, I don't know about you, but I have confidence in you. I don't know why you don't have confidence in yourself. I think you should take this. I have confidence in you. You know, when they just hear words like that, it's enough for them. They take it and they do a good job. After that, tak ada lah orang nak datang, nak refuse that I have to call up. Tak ada dah lah. After 1 or 2 incidents, after that everybody terima. That's how I got my more than 33% quota tu.
Oh, okay. I wonder if other universities are doing that. No comments. Okay. Wow. Boleh tak saya nak minta Profesor Emeritus Tan Sri, Datuk Sri Tan Sri, Datuk Sri Dr. Sharifah untuk memberikan macam mana ya, semangat lah kepada orang-orang muda yang mungkin nak mencari satu, pasal kita punya program ni namanya menyusuri ilmu. Alright, cuba Prof tolong kaitkan a profession dengan ilmu. Because remember, you were at HKL, you were in the university, lepas tu you keluar pergi Kementerian Pendidikan, lepas tu you masuk balik ke UKM. But semua tempat yang, alhamdulillah syukur, semua tempat yang pergi tu memerlukan you untuk mendapat ilmu. Kalau tidak, it's very tough if you are, you're just a practitioner, not an academician. How can you become a vice chancellor of a university? So can you, in case lah, kalau ada pendengar-pendengar kita besok kan, follow your footsteps, they build up their career. One day, this guy or this girl becomes the vice chancellor. Can you imagine? Bagi sikit inspirasi sebagai penutup.
Okay, my advice is, firstly, penuhkan ilmu di dada dulu.
Yes.
You must be a master in your area. You see, Fauzia, you glance over the first career I had was medicine. I graduated as a doctor,
Yes.
But, I made several shifts in my life. So, I shift from being a medical practitioner, I become academician. I masuk university. Bila masuk university, it was not in a clinical area. It was in a preclinical area. These are major shifts, that you have to make. Then you kena tetapkan fikiran you. Bila you masuk, when you make a major shift, you must tell yourself, I've made this, no U-turn, don't go around in a circle. You must tetapkan and say, I'm going down this path, I must be the best. Yeah. So masa mula saya physiology, So I was doing well. I even did research and all that. I was teaching, But then life changed again. Sometimes the opportunities come. Then I masuk medical education, Then I decided, okay, I will become good in this area. Buat masters, buat PhD, do my research, do my consultancies, do my teaching, all in this area and develop myself in this area. So professionally, you must be known for something, Kalau you nak jadi seorang pentadbir, jangan kosong. You must be known, So it doesn't mean that you must be known only in the pentadbiran, kan? That also is a bidang you must master, But sometimes this bidang pentadbiran ni you can acquire through experience. Through experience, through your learning, you tak perlu pergi buat masters in admin ke apa ke, kan? Sometimes it's through experience you gather and you will learn. Now, not everybody want to do the administration,
Yeah.
So if you want to be known in your bidang, go ahead, because that's also a great thing. There are so many known people lah, Einstein lah, macam-macam kan. You can emulate a lot of scientists, a lot of philosophers, a lot of people in the humanities, you know, economists. They are good. They don't have to be pentadbir.
Yeah.
They don't have to takbir their institution.
Yeah.
To takbir institution, you need some additional competencies. Yeah, and these are what I call the human kind of competencies. Ability to work with people, ability to solve problems. By my background in medicine helped me because I use the problem solving approach in my administration. Identify the issues, research properly, find out what are the alternatives for solution, weigh all the solutions, get the best solution, try out, then get feedback, is working or not working, you know, until you perfect it. So this kind of problem solving approach and collegial approach, getting people on board to work with you, these are different skills from the mastery in your bidang.
Okay.
For pentadbiran, you need this. And these skills, I learned a lot in my work with NCWO.
Okay.
Because you know NCWO is so diverse, macam-macam orang, macam-macam interest, you know. You need to really work with them to get to your objectives, you know, which is empowerment of women. You know, we have common objective, tapi you need to work with a lot of people. You need to work with government lah. You know, those skills. Stakeholder, you have to work with different stakeholders. Dalam bidang ni mungkin you work with the people in your area only, no? But in pentadbiran you have to work with all kinds of people.
Betul.
So these are different competencies, different sets. If you feel you have acquired this, then the field is open also for you to go into administrative line. Yeah.
Okay. In other words, to sum up, satu tadi Prof kata mesti cinta ilmu. Alright, you must be good in your whatever.
Yes, mastery. Mesti ada mastery
on that, yeah.
Because your credibility depends on that.
Yeah. And of course, you know, orang macam ni tak semua orang dapat peluang. So once katalah you are offered, katalah not as a vice chancellor, but maybe as something else, you know, in your career ni, for the listeners lah, for the younger ones, grab the opportunity. But before you say yes to that offer that is made to you, look within yourself and then judge yourself lah. Boleh ke aku buat selama ni? Sebab apa saya ingin menyatakan bahawa dasar saya berkhidmat sebagai ahli Suruhanjaya Perkhidmatan Awam for 5 years dan saya dapati orang-orang muda, maaf cakap lah ya, dia lekas jemu lah. Dia move on. Lekas sangat jemu. Jadi tak ada seseorang yang boleh duduk sampai macam you. You know, you have gone through the rigmarole, you know, sampai ke atas. You know, rasanya orang sekarang kan 3-4 tahun aja dah nak move somewhere else, you know. Jadi itu yang menjadi masalah sikit. Yang kedua, malas nak menambah ilmu. Itu pun satu apa ni, ciri-ciri orang-orang sekarang lah. Ni untuk makluman para pendengar dan juga para penonton ya program ini, Profesor Sharifah ni dengan saya kan, we have gone a long way, no.
Yes.
You graduated in 73, is it? 73. Universiti Melaya.
Yeah.
Saya 71. Okay, and we have been together fighting for women and all those lah.
But right? Maybe kita masuk same time because I 5 tahun.
Yelah. Okay.
Contemporary.
Sampai sekarang pun
3 tahun, I 5 tahun.
Sampai sekarang pun Profesor masih lagi memegang, selain daripada the professional apa yang kita dah dengar tadi, career dia dalam profession tadi, dia juga adalah seorang pejuang wanita dan masih lagi menjadi President National Council of Women's Organisation. Sekarang berapa NGO ada dalam tu, affiliates?
Because sekarang our structure is national and state level. So banyak lah, I think more than 200
NGO bergabung di bawah NCWO. Ya, dan dah lama dah pula tu, dah berapa puluh tahun dah.
Since 2000.
Oh no, what I mean is the establishment
NCWO since 1963.
Tengok tu berapa?
58 tahun.
Ya. So itu setelah mendengar ya penjelasan dan juga kisah-kisah pengalaman profesor ini, saya cabarlah anda sekalian ya, orang-orang muda. Cabar you.
Cabar mesti cabar.
Imba ilmu dan jangan sekali-kali apa kata orang, jemu untuk menambah ilmu. Itu sebab program ini namanya Sembang-Sembang PSWM Menyusuri Ilmu. Okey, saya bagi pihak Persatuan Siswazah Wanita Malaysia, of which Professor also is one of the founder member of this persatuan, saya mengucapkan setinggi-tinggi terima kasih dan mengucapkan setinggi terima kasih kepada Profesor dan berharap you will still continue in your endeavour to make Malaysia
cannot stop.
Fantastic country.
Cannot stop.
Yes, we shall do this together.
Never, yes.
Okay.
Whatever. Macam-macam isu ada lagi.
Okay. Terima kasih banyak. Sekianlah saja tuan-tuan dan puan-puan.
Terima kasih.
Tuan-tuan dan puan-puan telah mendapat banyak kisah ilmu ya, tentang ilmu ya, daripada temu bual sembang-sembang saya dengan Profesor Tan Sri Datuk Seri Dr. Sharifah.
Amboi panjangnya.
Panjang sungguh. Padahalnya saya kata, okey Pak.
Itu aja yang benarnya. Sebenarnya itulah.
Thank you so much Pak. Okay.
Sama-sama. Thank you for having me this afternoon.
Okay. Taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.